seconds until minions spawn. First blood. Rampage. to Summoner's Rift.
Meanie. Obviously, I completely support the women and men who are protesting there for their secular freedom. It's quite extraordinary to see what's happening there. So perhaps I'll do a podcast on that. But as it turns out, some years ago, I had a conversation that was highly relevant to this moment with the writer and free speech activist Yasmin Mohammed. We just released this on the Best of Making Sense feed, but I wanted to put it here because it really gets at the underlying issue of women's rights in an unusually complete and personal way. Yasmin's story is being lived and now protested by millions and millions of women in the Muslim world. And it's in light of a story like this that the killing of Mahsa Amini should be understood. Today I'm speaking with Yasmin Mohammed. Yasmin is a human rights activist and a writer. She's a very eloquent advocate for women living in Islamic majority countries and in the Muslim community generally, worldwide, and a very effective critic of religious fundamentalism. And her new book is Unveiled: How Western Liberals Empower Radical Islam. And I've been in Yasmin's corner for a little while. When she was getting ready to write her book at the proposal stage, I blurbed her. This is a blurb that appears on the book, but this is a blurb really for her as a person before the book was even written. I'll just read that here to give you some context. Women and free thinkers in traditional Muslim communities inherit a double burden. If they want to live in the modern world, they must confront not only the theocrats in their homes and schools, but many secular liberals whose apathy, sanctimony, and hallucinations of, quote, racism throw yet another veil over their suffering. Yasmin Mohammed accepts this challenge as courageously as anyone I've ever met, putting the lie to the dangerous notion that criticizing the doctrine of Islam is a form of bigotry. Let her wisdom and bravery inspire you. And so you should. And here Yasmin and I talk about her background and indoctrination into conservative Islam and the double standard that Western liberals use to think about women in the Muslim community. We talk about feminism generally, the validity of criticizing other cultures, and other related topics. So, now I bring you a very brave woman and one of my heroes, Yasmin Mohammed. I'm here with Yasmin Mohammed. Yasmin, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Sam.
So this has been a long time coming. I forget where I discovered you. It was Twitter, or how did we get introduced?
I sent you an email.
Just a cold email?
Well, I was supposed to do a talk in Australia with Majid about the Islam and the Future of Tolerance documentary. And then I had to cancel it because I was going through a lot of, basically I was having consistent panic attacks, and I had time off work, and I had to cancel all of my speaking engagements. So I sent you a letter to sort of apologize that I wasn't able to make it. And then you wrote back to me and started asking me about the panic attacks and everything that was going on with there. And so then that's how I got into meditation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I remember that, but I don't remember that being the first contact. Did you not have a Twitter presence yet?
I did have a Twitter presence, but you weren't following me yet.
Oh, okay. Well, someone could have been forwarding your stuff. I feel like I saw you there first, but maybe not. Anyway, you go hard on Twitter. That's something we're going to talk about.
Yeah, the Arab in me.
So let's just take it from the top. We're talking about your book, Unveiled, in the end, but let's just start with your story from the beginning. Where did you come from, and what were your parents like, and what was your upbringing like? This is the beginning of your story. For better or worse, maybe one of the most courageous voices I can name at the moment.
So the beginning, I guess, would be my parents meeting each other in university in Egypt. So my dad's from Palestine and my mom is Egyptian. The Palestinians could go to university in Egypt. It was all covered. Like, they were treated as Egyptians, but they weren't given citizenship. So they met in university in Egypt. And my mother's family were very angry at her for marrying a Palestinian because they thought he was so beautiful. But they got married and then they moved to San Francisco together. And they were there during the peace, love, hippie era. And they had my sister. And it was a bit too much peace and love. And so my mom wanted like a quieter place to raise the kids. And so then they moved to Vancouver, Canada. And that's where I was born. But then their marriage fell apart in the end anyway. So when I was about 2 years old, my dad, left us, went to the other side of the country. So here my mom is now in a new country, no support system, no community, 3 children, and she's feeling, depressed, vulnerable, sad, lonely, all that stuff.
How religious were they at this point?
No religiosity whatsoever. Neither. They're both grew up very secular. my dad had like zero connection to religion. It's just like a cultural thing. He's very anti-Israel, just being Palestinian, but there's no religious, like him personally, he wasn't very, he wasn't practicing. And then my mom's all alone. And so she goes looking for a support system. And she goes looking for her family. And at the mosque, she finds a man who is already married, already has 3 children. He offers to take my mom on as his second current wife.
Right.
So, you know, she is happy to have somebody take care of her and take care of her kids. And so she's willing to put up with whatever he's dishing out. My dad was abusive towards her. He used to hit her. And this man never hit her. He hit us, of course, but he never hit her. So she felt like this was a better relationship for her. So she stayed with him as a second concurrent wife. We lived in his basement. And he's very, like, my life changed completely when he entered our lives. But beforehand, I used to be able to, you know, play with my neighbor's friends. Like, we'd play Barbies together. I'd go swimming. I'd ride my bike. I'd go to birthday parties, listen to music, just like a normal childhood. And then once he entered our lives, it was just immediate. Everything is haram. Everything is forbidden. And all of a sudden, my mom started covering her hair, and we had to start reading from this book of this, you know, these words that I didn't understand, and I had to start praying 5 times a day. And I resisted it from the beginning. Of course, I missed my old life. I was especially upset that I couldn't play with Chelsea and Lindsay anymore. They'd always come knocking on the door wanting to play Barbies, and I was never allowed to go, and they were never allowed in. And
You're going to the same school at this point, or?
Yep, but not for long. And then I got, as soon as the Islamic school was, I mean, it wasn't built, it was in the mosque. As soon as it was established that we would have an Islamic school, and my mom was teaching in it, then I started going there.
Was this associated with any religious awakening on your mom's part, or she just needed a man to take care of her?
I think
Practical and romantic. That's the right
Well,
word.
I don't know if romantic is part of it. I think practical for sure. And it was a combination of both of those things. So she needed, I think, she was happy to have somebody to take care of her. But then also she just became a full-on born again person. So she just entered it, like she just jumped all in. It was never, you know, if you see her wedding photos, she looked like a Bond girl, like short wedding dress, big, huge beehive. You know, there was a belly dancer at her wedding. And to go from that to the woman that raised me that I remember is just a pretty shocking difference. And I used to always, you know, resent that. I'd be like, how come you got freedom? How come you got to live like this? Look at your pictures when you were a kid. You know, how come I don't get that life? And she'd say, because my parents didn't know any better. And I'm raising you better. You're going to be a better person, and you're going to go to heaven. And my parents did the best they could, but they were wrong.
And so how old are you when you're expressing these doubts? Or
Well, I was about 6 years old when he entered our life. And I resisted all the way up. Probably about 9 years old is when I stopped, because that's when the hijab was put on me and I started going to Islamic school, and it was just too much. So you can't really fight anymore when everything in your life is, you know, pushing you in one direction. You just, you know, succumb, especially when you're a kid. But according to my mom, I was never, you know, good enough. The devil was always whispering in my ear and making me question. I always asked questions, right? Like, if Allah created everything, who created Allah? And stuff like that. Like, how could I even? These are such blasphemous, you know. If Adam and Eve are, you know, parents of all people, are we all children of incest? So these basic questions of, you know, that a kid would ask, I'd get in trouble for them.
so was there any point where you just went hook, line, and sinker and fully adopted the worldview without doubt? Or did you always have some doubt coming in the background?
The doubt humming in the background finally went quiet once I was forced into the marriage with my son. So once I married him and I wore niqab, so that's like full face covering, gloves, everything, I was so diminished that I didn't have anything left. And I also kind of made the conscious decision that, I mean, I was desperate for my mom's love and approval. My sister was always the good girl that always listened and never questioned. And I wanted that. I wanted to have, you know, that relationship with my mom. So she kept on pressuring me to marry this man, and I eventually gave in because I thought, you know what, maybe she'll actually love me if I follow what she wants me to do. I'll marry the man she tells me to marry. I'll do everything the way she says to do it. I've been fighting against this my whole life. What happens if I just let go and see if she's actually right?
And how old are you at this point?
So I'm 20. And I did let go, and I did follow exactly what she said. And until I had my daughter and held her in my arms and saw that she was about to grow up in the same environment that I grew up in, my mom was talking to her the same way she talked to me her father was talking about FGM and her dying a martyr for Allah and things like that. And I'm like, okay. And, I couldn't really accept this role for
I can
myself.
before I got turned.
And was he Egyptian? And I think people aren't generally aware that FGM is practiced in Egypt.
Like 98%.
Yeah. So it's basically like Somalia. So, and this was just a fully arranged marriage, or it had been encouraged?
So it wasn't fully arranged in that I didn't know I was going to marry him my whole life. Sometimes people arrange marriages from the get-go. But it was definitely a forced marriage, which is a very common thing in the Arab world. So it's like, this is the man we want you to marry. And then you basically just get introduced to him. And the woman doesn't need to consent. Like in Islam, it says silence is consent. So if you just sit there and cry, it's like, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
You're now, that's like saying I do. And so it was, you get pressured into it in the same way you get pressured into everything else. So it's just like wearing the hijab, and you get given two choices. Like, do you want to go to heaven or do you want to go to hell? Do you want to be a good, pure, clean girl, or do you want to be a filthy whore? Like, these are your choices. Make the right choice. So forcing you into a marriage is similar kind of coercion. So it would be things like, there's a hadith that says, heaven is at the feet of your mothers. So your mother gets to decide whether you're going to go to heaven or not. So this was the one that was used all the time. And it's a very dangerous weapon for an abusive mother to have. So she would use that one. She'd say, you're never going to go to heaven unless I approve you to enter heaven. And if you don't marry this man, you will never go to heaven. You will burn in hell for eternity. And you will suffer here on earth because you are no longer my daughter. I want nothing to do with you. I won't even allow you to come to my funeral because I don't, as far as anyone is concerned, you're no longer my family. And then when you die, you'll burn in hell for eternity. So go ahead and make a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reading your book is a fairly harrowing account of what your childhood and adolescence and young adulthood was like. And I think you can differentiate what is just the sheer bad luck of having an abusive and perhaps mentally ill mom and having married somebody who will get this story in a moment. But
Pretty good.
that's bad luck that could happen to anyone in any culture, with or without religion. Then there are the cultural practices, which aren't necessarily mandated by Islam and maybe don't necessarily represent every Muslim's or even most Muslims' experience. And then there's just what is fairly common under Islam, because you can just connect the dots and see that it is mandated or at least encouraged in the text. So how do you kind of carve out those different strands for me? What is just the sheer bad luck based on the personalities involved, and where is the contribution of Islam?
Yeah. So the problem is a lot of these elements are sanctioned in Islam. So Islam says, for example, tells a man, if you fear that your wife is, arrogant or disobedient, then, go through these steps and then beat her. So it's not like Allah is telling men, if you fear that your wife, is going to give you any trouble, beat her.
Right.
So not every single man is going to beat his wife, and not every single man is going to, viciously beat his wife. There's going to be, different men are going to react in different ways. But the problem is the fact that it is sanctioned. So if you complain about it, like in my example, when I went to my mom and said, he just punched me in the face when he saw that I wasn't wearing hijab in the house on the 17th floor because he was afraid people, seagulls, people in helicopters, might see me through the window. And her response was, he has every right to beat you. You are his. It says so right there, chapter 4, verse 34. So that's the problem. The problem is that it's codified, it's in the religion, and so it can be used in different ways. Like I said, not every Muslim man is going to beat his wife, but those who do have scriptural support.
Yeah. And the debate really is not whether or not that support exists, but what is meant by beating. It's like how hard you can beat your wife.
That's very subjective.
Yeah.
And there's scholars that come forward and they say things like, oh no, it's like with a toothbrush or whatever. But those are just scholars offering their interpretations. As far as the Quran is concerned, it doesn't say that. It just says that's it. It offers there's no asterisks there. But that's subjective anyway. Like you don't, it depends on the country that you're in, depends on the environment that you're used to. Yeah, beating could be pretty bad. And obviously, hitting another human being is a bad thing anyway. And the creator of the universe really should not be sanctioning husbands from being wives. But there's a famous critic of Islam named Hamid Abdus who's an Egyptian German man, who had a really great way of describing this. And he says it's like Allah's at the bar and he had a bit much to drink and he's like, you guys should just like beat your wives, man. And his friends, right, the scholars, are behind him going, no, he doesn't really mean that. He doesn't actually mean that. He means like with a feather or something. So those are just the scholars trying to soften it up. But at the end of the day, people read the Quran and they quote that verse.
Right. So, and you're wearing the niqab at this point? At what point did that happen?
Hijab was at 9 years old, as far as I could remember.
Yeah.
And then once I was engaged to him, started wearing the niqab, got it all delivered from Saudi Arabia. And that really helps in dehumanizing you. That really helps in turning me into a nothing that he can control very easily. It just suppresses your humanity entirely. It's like a portable sensory deprivation chamber. And you are no longer connected to humanity. You can't see properly, you can't hear properly, you can't speak properly, people can't see you, you can only see them. I mean, just little things like passing people in the street and just making eye contact and smiling, like that's gone. You're no longer part of this world. And so you very, very quickly just shrivel up into nothing under there.
Yeah, well, we're going to get to this, but it is amazing how sanguine Western feminists are around this practice. Like, this is just another culture's ideal of how to honor feminine beauty and empower women. Who are we to criticize? We should differentiate the hijab from the niqab. The hijab is just a straight-up symbol of female empowerment now in the West. For some reason, people, one, can't see that most of the women on Earth right now who are wearing a hijab are not doing it based on some empowerment they felt at an Ivy League institution where they're just going to take the male gaze off their own discretion. So they're forced to do it. The consequences of not doing it in many cases are, if not absolutely coercive social pressures, actually physical violence. But it is also just a step toward the niqab and the burqa, which are the actual crystallization of the ideal here that's being enshrined. Which is, it's all, the female modesty is the only thing that safeguards male sexuality from completely running amok. It's like all men would be gropers and rapists, but for the fact that women hide themselves. Maybe we should jump into that now. I want to talk about who your husband revealed himself to be, but what have your encounters with Western feminists been like?
Well, that makes me really sad that they consider Muslim women to be of some other species and that are so completely different from them. So for themselves, they will recognize all of those things that you talked about are basically victim blaming, slut shaming. They recognize those elements of rape culture when we're in the Western context, which are, they're much harder to see in the Western context. But under Sharia, it's very, very easy to clearly see the perfect example of rape culture. But they somehow, when it's those women over there, it's empowering. Like, would it be empowering for you if you were told you have to wear this clothing in order to protect yourself from men who might rape you, or you have to wear this clothing in order to be good and pure and go to heaven, because if you don't wear it, then you're a filthy whore? If you wouldn't, no woman would want to hear that. No 7-year-old child would like to be told, you have to wear this in order to go to school. And your brother doesn't have to. He can wear whatever he wants. But you must wear this, or you're not allowed to get educated. It is an atrocity. Like that's something that every human being should be upset about. And the fact
That's
that
okay, why don't you turn that off anyway?
Your inhibitor has been destroyed.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, the Twitch should have chimed in. Oh no, again! Justice is coming. Yep. Nice!
Your
I don't know. Allow me. I have no fear.
Minions have spawned.
Okay, it's got his flash. Oh nice, he killed Zen already. Great! Didn't have to do anything. I was like, should I make an early room up there? But he's got it taken care of. This is a great spot for Vi to just Q over the wall. Could probably one-shot me. There it is! As I was saying. I can't catch her. She's got cute. At least to get this constellation prize. Yeah, I had to smite it to get HP so it didn't die, but then I missed the smite to finish it because I couldn't get it weak enough first. But that's what happens. When you're Eve, you're just everybody's bitch. Like, everyone's gonna take all of your jungle whenever they want to. They're gonna kill you whenever they want to because you're the weakest one in the game. You just gotta take it. And then you hit 6 and hopefully come back. You can probably kill this guy if she gets here. Almost here. Okay, I think we can go on this now. Let's do it! I don't have a point in charm because I didn't hit 4 because I missed my blue buff. Oh well. You probably got this one already. That's fine. Oh, don't worry about Pike. It's not worth it. Oh no, mid. Wow, they were at 3 and they didn't get it. Want me to gank set? Alright, we can try it. That's got that stun, makes it tricky, but see what we can get. Command stunneroo. Alright, let's try it. Oh shit, son, he's going for you! Dang, he just hit 6 off that too, so I probably can't get him. Unless Leona... He's gonna have his Q again though. Thank God he didn't have it again yet. Really? 2 here? Come on. Oh, the turn just ran out. Wait, 4 top? Wow. Okay. I guess we get some plates mid. Honestly, could take Dragon off that. Super weird to have 4 top. They totally didn't need it. Like, I think Pike and Vi alone were plenty. Victor comes hauling up the back line. It's like, oh, okay. As Pike's roaming all over the map, it's just like 2 games ago. Remember there was the Pike versus the Yumi that we had, and the Pike was like 6, 2, and 12 or something. Because he was just roaming the map the whole time, and our Yumi was doing nothing. Feels like that all over again. Try to get Jin. Pike's the one with the shutdown money though. We should probably look for him at like Dragon. Jin's not worth anything. Oh god, there's a pink there, of course. And of course Pike is coming here to contest Scuttle, because he's always everywhere. Finally. Can we? We haven't seen their jungler. We gotta get the Pike first. Jin's here too. They always bring the whole gang. And our AD carry is just farming. Our AD carry doesn't want it, even though this Pike is literally right here. He's gonna hop the wall, he's gonna hop the wall, he's gonna hop the wall. Where's the wall hop? Vane's just straight farming. He does not give one single shit. He's just gonna be like taking his creeps. Alright. I don't think we can do this because we can't trust Vane to come. And we need our DPS. Yeah, see, they've got so many. I really like to just pick Pike though. We're not gonna get to. Oh yeah. Well, hopefully when it's 40 minutes into the game, Vane will be able to carry us all. Oh no, she just got nuked by Pike. Cool. Nice. Pike just got another one. Cool. Man, 5-0 Pike, it's crazy. It's just like last game it was a 6-0 Twitch at 6 minutes, now we got a 5-0 Pike at 10 minutes. I don't even evolve, there's nothing I can do there. It's just water drag though, at least. That's not too bad. Oh my god, it's 3 top again, or is that just 2? Was Pike up here? Okay, I can kill a Victor, but is he really worth it? Oh shit, Pike is up here. It is 4 top again. What? Okay, I want the Pike. Can we get this? Kiana? He's gonna jump this wall. Damn, Kiana didn't come quick enough. Oh, I just want the shutdown money. Wait, that was a really short stun. Does he have Merc Treads? I feel like Leona's stun should have been longer than that. Goodbye ult. Yeah, 15 is when you can first surrender, but it has to be unanimous then. And it almost never is. But we shut down Pike, so I feel like we can do this. And I can shut down Victor again pretty easy. Like, the team is pretty manageable, except for Vi, who's gonna get out of control. Yeah, but it was the Victor who got out of the stun super quick. I don't know what our Vi is trying to do down here, man. Oh, wow. Oh, I'm seen because I stepped in a Jhin trap. Jigs up. I think I could maybe flash in ult the Jhin. Does have a 200 shutdown, that's not too bad. Nah, I can't. Gotta dodge the hook. His Pike is so dead if Kiana just rotated down for him. Like, he should not be able to just be here. Like, what is this? Let's get him. We can 3-man this guy with their bottom lane and then Kiana. Like, look at this guy. Should not be able to get away with that. Can't believe I didn't get an assist. Like, I don't know. They said tomorrow. Pike's top again. Maybe we can get him. Oh, come on, Leona. Nice. Oh, well, cost him. Wait, so like, their Pike has not been bottom forever, and Vayne is still dying so much? What? All he has to do is be down there and farm in a 1v1 lane. They're somehow dying 1v1 to Jhin. And like, hold on, Vayne even has that stealth tumble, which is like pretty good for dodging Jhin ult. That is not really an excuse, buddy. I can kill this guy easy. If Kiana wants it, but she never moves for anything. Have to get myself? Okay. Oh man, I didn't do it before he stunned me. Kiana's got nothing in that kit. That's okay, he doesn't have shutdown money anyway. It's nice to have ult for like Dragon or something more important. For the Pike, honestly. Ooh, I love how that follows through. Vi's gonna ult me. Dodge the Pike ult, so now it's on cooldown. Oh man. There's always someone waiting in blue. But why is the top laner down here? I guess Mord's just not shoving hard enough. He just warded that bush, but it was a yellow ward, so it didn't see me. And I think he's recalling. Oh my god, who pinks this? That's such a random bush to pink. Oh. I should probably farm down here. Oh, there isn't yellow there. I was just seeing things. Advise. Oh. I'm somehow just out of the range of that pink ward. I could probably blow him up, but like, doesn't have any money for a shutdown. Chin shut down. Let's do it. Pike littering in our jungle. Do you really want to play this game, Pike? Do you want to play this game? Huh? You want to play this game again?
Your turret has been destroyed.
Oh shit, this guy wants to play the game and he's gonna win. That's why too. At least if I flash for it. We gotta go send 3 for the set because 3 and 4. Almost nice.
An ally has been
I mean, it's a shutdown at least. Let's go. Let's go. Oh, the last one didn't hit. Tell me you got the Jin. Oh no. Oh, I got him though. Oh, I love Lich Bane. Now where's the Pike? I'm having fun now, so I don't want to go. I want this Pike. Oh no, this guy's so quick. Snick. Guess what? I've got a pink ward. Come stop me, Pike. Do it. Oh no, not Victor. This guy's always got freaking friends with him. But look at that Lich Bane though. Ooh, the Lich Bane though. Oh, almost. Almost did too. That's a good second proc at least. I don't think that could have gone any better. Please be recalling here. Please be recalling here. Not under tower. Not under tower. No. Maybe he went to Baron? Oh, there he is. Oh no. I had to go because of Spike. And now. Give me your support. Oh, that was good kiting.
Executed.
Hmm, 4v5, probably not. They'll get Dragon Soul and then end it. I want to have one more fight. I want blood. Bring me your strongest warrior. Flashed right into that. I was hoping to flash after it procced and then charm him and get him. Okay, that's a yes. One last try. How is that mitigated because of Vayne? That'd be nice. I think you might have to stay in the game for a certain amount of time though for it to be mitigated. Like they quit and then I think you have to play like 10 more minutes. We'll see. Yeah, it wasn't mitigated. We should have played it out more. Oh, I can still report him. Whoa. What are you gonna do? Yeah, but I mean, new accounts are $5, so even if you get banned, you can just get a new one. Oh, that guy trolled the game before too. He sold all of his items and bought daggers. When he want 1 and 6's Jace. Oof, he was 10th the last 3 games in a row. Oh well.
All right, so this is insane because the dollar is exploding against every other currency in the world, including the Chinese yuan, which just hit a new record low against the dollar, as well as the British pound, which is on the verge of collapse. In fact, the British pound and the dollar are so close together right now that this has never happened before in history. So what does all of it mean? It means it's time for a magic trick because the dollar has finally become cool again. Just kidding. You can totally unsubscribe for that. But what this actually means is that right now, the dollar has reached the most valuable point in the last 51 years, except for 2 other times in history. Once in 1971 and another time in the mid-1980s. Now, even though the dollar getting stronger sounds like a good thing, it's actually really bad news for the global economy, and it's even worse news for the stock market. And here's why. The most important thing you have to understand about everything that's going on is that this is not an accident. This too was created very much on purpose thanks to what's called the central bank, aka the Federal Reserve and Papa Jerome Powell. Right now, they're trying to fight inflation. The way to do that is to increase what's called the federal funds rate, which remember is the cost for banks to borrow money from each other. Now, without getting crazy complicated, just remember that the federal funds rate affects what's called bond interest rates or bond yields. And bond interest rates affect prime rates. And prime rates is the interest rate for us as consumers to borrow money. Now, all this means is that the central bank is making it more expensive to borrow money. But as they increase interest rates, it also means the bond market falls. It is collapsing. It's in free fall. And whenever prices go down, their interest rates go up. And that means their yields become extra juicy. So investors all around the world want to swap their weaker performing assets, like their stocks and real estate, and their weaker currencies instead for the dollar. And because our bonds and assets are denominated in dollars is why the dollar is becoming extremely strong. Now, context is extremely important to this story. So when I say that bonds pay a high interest rate, I'm only talking about 4.2%. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but that's only because it's not. It's very little, especially because inflation is probably double, if not triple this number, but it's still an amazing return. When you remember the fact that the S&P 500 is down over 20% this year, that Bitcoin is down almost 60% this year, the Russian stock market has already collapsed, the British economy is on the brink of collapse, and the Chinese real estate market is probably weeks away from some other major collapse. So this 4% yield is starting to sound really, really juicy. The point is, the global markets have no idea where the economy is going to go, and that's why the US dollar is what's called a safe haven for the global markets all around the world. Now, this situation, which we've artificially created, is good for some people, but it's really bad for others, including investors. So in short, the dollar's exploding in value, which means really bad news for the global economy and really bad news for the stock market. That's the short, explain it like I'm 5 version. Now let me give you a more detailed breakdown of what's going on and why this is happening, and I want to show you some new data that I found that helps describe what will happen to the stock market based on the last time we were in this situation. So with that said, let's get right into it. Hi, my name is Andre Jick. Hope you're doing well. Come for the finance and stay for another macroeconomic breakdown of everything that's going on. It's going to get a little complicated, but I promise if you stick around at the end of the video, I want to show you data that ties everything together, and it's going to blow your mind. So hopefully you'll learn something new. But first, a quick refresher. Right now, the current federal funds rate is at 3.25%. The Fed wants to get this number to 4.5% at the end of this year, maybe as high as 5%. All we know is that when this number goes up, bond prices greater, and that's when their interest rates or their yields go up. The reason bonds matter to this story so much is because, remember, bonds are a guaranteed way to make money, and bonds compete with stocks. So just keep that in mind as we go forward. Now, all of these interest rate increases are happening worldwide and not just in the US. In 1 week alone, there have been 10 countries that have raised their rates for a combined total of 6%, which is massive. And remember, the reason that these central banks are all doing this is to fight inflation. Now, the question is, if other countries are also raising their rates and their bond interest rates are going up, why and how is the US benefiting the most from this? Wouldn't other countries want to keep their money at home and invest in their own bonds and assets? And the answer is no, they wouldn't. And the reason for that is because of where they think the global economy is going. And right now, things are not going good. You might remember at the beginning of the video, I specifically mentioned the British pound and the Chinese yuan. And that's because they are extremely important to the global economy. But right now, their currencies are becoming weaker and less valuable. In China's case, for example, which is the second largest economy in the world, their real estate market is casting a huge cloud over the entire economy. And if you've been on YouTube for the last month or two, you've probably seen thumbnails like these. Bright, red, scary-looking thumbnails that are terrifying. And that's because the Chinese real estate market is on fire. Home sales are declining, home values are falling, and that's really bad because their real estate market represents 30% of their entire GDP and roughly 50% of all of their investments. And because they have the zero COVID policy, their economy can't kickstart again until it's finished. So for now, there is no collapse, but that's why the world is afraid of one, and for that reason, the world does not want to park its wealth with China for now. When it comes to the UK, they have the 5th largest economy in the world, and it's also seen as a very safe place for people to put their money. But right now, the UK economy is on the brink of collapse. That's because just recently, the Bank of England has told them that they would buy bonds at, quote, whatever scale necessary to stop a crash from happening. And they just recently unveiled a, quote, huge package of tax cuts and increased borrowing. And we all know that increased
increased borrowing leads to more spending, which leads to more inflation, which leads to higher interest rates, which leads to more pain. And that's why their investors are selling out of that currency, getting out of the bond market in search of something safer. And that's what brings everyone right back to the US dollar. Now, this is by no means the full story of what makes the dollar so strong, but these are two very important examples of what makes the dollar act as this magnetic energy force field that attracts all the other money to it. So now that you hopefully understand how the dollar works and the mechanics behind it, let me explain why it's actually a very bad thing, especially for the stock market. But first, a quick word from today's sponsor.
The D word. Not dollars, diversification. It is the golden rule of investing. It is time-tested, investor-approved, or so we thought until 2022 showed up, because every stock from Apple to Zillow is getting pummeled. Even ETFs are getting destroyed right now, so what happens next? I have no idea, but I did get my hands on this industry-leading study by McKinsey, which I have no idea why I printed out, but there it is, and this study shows that institutions, which are the biggest guys in the finance world, are now investing anywhere between 30 to 50% of their money into alternatives. 30 to 50%. And asset managers are also following in their footsteps, using alternatives as a way to shield their clients from high volatility and skyrocketing interest rates. But as with anything in investing, timing is everything. And that's why a lot of experts are warning investors about being too late. So where do we start? Maybe real estate, but maybe not, with interest rates expected to reach as high as 7%, the highest since the 2007 global financial crisis. So instead, I'm talking about a different kind of alternative that was specifically mentioned by both BlackRock and Goldman Sachs as being crucial for the next decade: contemporary art. As an asset, this art has outpaced the S&P over the last 26 years. Check this out: 13.8% for contemporary art and only 10.3% for the S&P. But the really good part is that that was the return during the bull market of the last decade. Imagine how good the results could be for contemporary art over the next decade. That's why I've partnered with the only alternative platform that has already returned an average of 29% net return to their investors, Masterworks. Even as recently as last month, Masterworks sold another painting for a 33.1% return to their investors, probably to some of you, even as the S&P 500 was down 20% at the same time. The performance of Masterworks investments, coupled with new guidance from all these institutions, has led Masterworks to release more art on their platform, and there is a waitlist. But you can skip the waitlist by clicking the link in the description below this video, so go check it out, and now let's get back to it.
All right, so here's what a strong dollar actually means. This is gonna blow your mind, because according to research from Morgan Stanley, they found that every time the dollar hit a peak, it coincided with a horrible economic event. Each and every single time there was a bubble, a recession, or some kind of crisis is exactly when the dollar was at its highest point. And that sounds scary, but the reality is the dollar does not cause these things to happen. If anything, it's the reverse. When the world is in trouble and it doesn't know where to put its money, it puts its money in the US dollar by default. Now, I found data that looks as far back as 1990 to 2022 to see what would happen to our current stock market depending on what happens to the dollar today. So I found 3 different scenarios, and this is super interesting. So this is the chart. Looks complicated, but these dark blue graphs represent what happens to earnings when the dollar goes up in value. And the green charts represent what happens to earnings when the dollar goes down in value. So overall, what this chart shows is that if the dollar stays the same, which is very expensive right now, the stock market will have a below average performance. It's not necessarily going to crash, but it's definitely not going to go up. Now, if the dollar becomes stronger, which is exactly what's predicted to happen, because remember, the federal funds rate is expected to go up to that 4.5%, it means those bond yields will also go up, attracting more investors to pour their money into dollars, which means dollar gets stronger. And if that were to happen, then the average earnings reports will actually be 7% below average when looked across the last 30 years of data. Now, if the dollar gets weaker, which is not really predicted to happen, but if it does get weaker, then the stock market or the earnings reports will actually be 7% above average. Now, how does this actually work, right? It works because of what are called non-domestic sales. That's a fancy word for the stuff a company sells overseas. But get this, non-domestic sales for companies in the S&P 500 represent 35 to 40% of their revenues. So the way to think about it is, if you're a company in the US, but you're selling stuff in another country in that country's currency, when you go to convert back to dollars, you're gonna get less dollars for all the stuff you sold, which means you just made less money. Now, the cruel irony is that a strong dollar is actually helping keep inflation down. That's because imports are cheaper for us. But the irony is that as investors, we actually want a weaker dollar, so that when they convert those currencies, they make more dollars and they make more money. For now though, all this means is that if you see the dollar's getting stronger in the headlines, it likely means that we're in the midst of some potential financial crisis and that the stock market is probably not going to do as well.
I hope some of this complicated video made sense and you learned at least one new thing, but if you didn't, you can always press the J button on your keyboard to go back 10 seconds and the L button to go forward 10 seconds on the video, but maybe that's the only thing you learned. Either way, as always, today, smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to grab up to $250 worth of free Bitcoin right here. Grab the money while it's still there, take it offline, grab your free stocks, the links are all down below, and then go track them automatically with the spreadsheet link down below in my Patreon. Love you, thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you back here on Monday, Friday, sometimes Wednesday. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
You take the, nah, Ezreal's a little fed. Please come up for the scuttle. Please come up for the scuttle. For the gummies. Yeah, you want those gummies? You want those gummies? Yeah, you do. I think he has a targeted stun, so I'd kind of rather have the Ez, actually. Oh my gosh, I can't catch him. Oh, we got 2 flashes anyway. Oh, the Ez is 3 and 1 too. I feel like this guy is gonna get ganked. Where's the gank? Oh yeah, he's definitely getting a gank. We'll wait for him to come. Unless he had a ward in this bush. Maybe he had a ward in the bush. Darn. Oh. Oh. And the Fiora too. Oh no 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 no! She's getting cuckolded. Don't let her get ult. Oh dang, that sucks. Are you gonna try to fight it forward? No. Oh, it's for dragon, that's why. Yeah, no kidding. Well, Karma stole that first one. have enough to support it. She's 1-1. Oh no. There we go. That works. Oh man, it's 3 top. 4 top because this is coming too. man, that was a good dash. On Dragon, I didn't even have it up. I had to use it on what's his face? Diego. Well, I didn't finish him. Oh, I thought she was gonna go for that, so we could've. Any takers, any takers? Oh, this Ez. Oh, I stopped the Ezreal ultimate. Nice! We're on a missed ultimate. Get in there! We got nothing left. Seraphine's putting out tons of damage. Akali doesn't have ult, so it's gonna be hard. Nice! Pretty good. Oh, the Ezreal cleanse. Or is it Mercurial? No, it's cleanse. Cleansed out of Vera's ultimate. Nice.
Your turret has been destroyed.
cleaned up. Take it. They don't even need help. Take their jungle creeps, salt the earth. What is hitting? I don't really know who's doing damage. Maybe we'll just get Cleaver. This guy. Oh, he flashed over the wall. Be careful not to queue into your until legendary. There we go. Now we can take dragon. Oh no. You think he can't smite? Wait, we could just kill him here. Hold on a second. Fucking back up. Maybe I don't need it. Just kidding, I need it. Thank you. They have healing, kinda. Need to go potty? Farm the Krogs, Ezreal, it's fine. Fiora's top. Not scared anymore. Oh, we're all top? What? Kinda scared of Warrior ult though. That'll hurt. Nice. That Seraphine is putting out tons of damage. Pretty boring game, but 239 to 151 at like 88 more CS. It's pretty crazy. Lucky he missed Smite on the Soul. That would have been Cloud Soul for them. I don't think it would have saved the game, but it would have been pretty big. But yeah, that game we just got carried. We had the 14 and 3 ADC. It's like the last 3 games have all just come down to the ADC. There was like the 6 and 0 Twitch, the 13 and 0. Who was after the Twitch? Someone was 13 and 0. Wait, what? I got MVP just for farming. Most valuable wave clear. Permit. I don't even know what that does. Nothing makes me feel older than Twitch. Like gift subs, all these wacky emojis. You have permission. I don't even know how to run an ad. I think it might need to be like sponsored or something. Or affiliated. Should you buy again? We have an AD mid. Oh gosh, it's the same Singed from last game. Oh no. Singed is just such a boring champion. He just split pushes. Like, I don't know. It's not super helpful in a gank. Yeah, that'd be kind of fun. Do we have anyone else from the last one? I don't think so. Nope.
people for me the opposite direction, but has done all of the same things. Yeah, I'd love to talk all about your history with dev going into creating and then going into startup land. I think it'll be really interesting, like comparing, contrasting our experiences there and how we've kind of ended up in the same spot.
Yeah, what do you do for your intro when people don't know you? What do you say?
It depends on where I am and like who I'm talking with. Like if it's a creator conversation, I usually start with my history working at Twitch, my like audio background and stuff there. If it's more general, like who is Theo? I'm a skateboarder that got too hurt to keep skateboarding, so I started writing code because it seemed cool, and suddenly I'm running a company. And if it's like the company journey, like how I like the Y Combinator type stuff, it's I worked at Twitch for half a decade. I built a lot of stuff there. Realized I couldn't build for the people I cared about, so I quit to go do that, and here I am. But yeah, there's too many pieces to tell one story, so I just pick a set of pieces depending on what narrative I want to tell.
Fun fact, I never really did much skating. I mean, skateboarding, but I did rollerblading for a bit. And that was my, and like ripstick. Those are my two things.
What the ripstick? Rollerblading's
Dude, the
having
ripstick was great.
rollerblading's having a huge comeback right now for what it's worth, but the ripstick died a hard death.
Yeah, I kind of did. That's okay. It was a good kid activity, and then like, who wants to like swivel when you're adult? Not really.
Yeah, totally fair. I've seen people do kickflips and triflips on them. I managed to pull a shove it on one once, but yeah, I'm too into the technical, like what can I do with it, not just can I get around with it. And the thing I loved about the skateboard for me is I could go in my basement in the middle of the winter and make up a new trick on it. And the feeling of like doing something no one had ever done before was super powerful. And all you had to do was eat shit a few thousand times. And when I realized
I was gonna say that's
code,
that's the scary thing. Yeah, except you know, I guess my inside is like wounded when I code, but skateboarding, like my outside is wounded when I'm like, you know, just flopping. I did pennyboard, and I actually did get wounded from pennyboarding once, which I was very sad about. I got like a scar on my elbow when I fell. That was just from regular skating because I was a newbie going too fast.
Funny, but most of my scars are from bikes actually. No, I'm not even a biker, but yeah, I've broken enough bones skateboarding. I can't talk shit.
I've luckily never broken a bone, but the main sport I played was tennis, and that's like the most boxing sport, so you gotta like try to break something there.
Yeah, I feel like I just happened to, I should say just happened to, I didn't like team sports, not because like teams are bad, but the lack of like creativity offered. Like you're working within a specific range of things and your quality is measured by numbers very trivially, and that was very, very frustrating and boring to me. I just wanted to do weird shit. Like I'm a dumb musician artist dude, and like
that sounds like you were the weakest person on the team and you had the lowest metrics, and so you hated it.
Not wrong, but it was more like my favorite moments like at basketball practice with my friends were like playing dumb games of horse and seeing who could like get a good shot like backwards and stuff like that. And when I realized skateboarding was literally just that, but as a sport, yeah, trick shots. And I realized that's tricks. And what I realized with software dev is it's that again. Sure, there are people who are gonna go and measure every single number and thing they can, but I just want to build weird, cool shit.
I agree.
Yeah,
So I assume, are you the type of person that, I guess, let me rephrase it. Do you use your YouTube analytics? And if so, how do you use them?
Yes. I've talked about this a bit before, but this whole channel is more an experiment for me than anything. It's market research. I wanted to better understand the creator space that I've been working in and like cared this much about for so long. And the opportunity I had with the channel was to better understand it, see what problems creators had every day and how they like resolve them. What I learned quickly is that the problems we solved at Ping are not the problems that are top of mind for creators every day. And there's a whole huge set of additional things that we want to go build now. And a lot of like what I do for the channel and how I use the analytics is to better understand what it takes to be successful on YouTube and to better understand the problems that creators feel every day. And the next grind, I think I've touched on this a bit before too, starting October 1st, so tomorrow, we're going to go for daily uploads on the channel. And I think we can do it, but I want to see how painful it is.
Because remember they invited me down here, so I had to start blue without a leash. That kind of slowed me down a bit.
This will be the first one.
But then he only got the Scuttle Senior because he skipped his wolves, so he didn't do every camp.
Very different
but that's fine.
because
And I would have gotten his
at the
wolves
time, it
too,
was
but
very much
their mid
like,
laner
I'd
is super
sit down,
responsive.
like, do a
Ours
coding
isn't. So.
tutorial, and it like would be a chunk of a coding tutorial, and
Oh
so
shoot, I should go
it
gank
might
for
be
him.
like
But I
3
kind of want
months
this.
before the like
I didn't get
Slack
the other
clone
one.
was finished. You get like one part of the Slack
Alright,
clone like
he's
every
coming.
4 months. So it was a thing
I'm
I
gonna
did
level
for
up on
a
him
bit,
though, and we can 2v1 this guy
well, a
and
year,
then
which is like a
get him.
little
I
longer
think.
than a bit.
Got no
I
charm,
mean, the TLDR
but,
is you have
he's
to
just
find
gonna walk into
something
it, so that's fine.
something sustainable
I will have charm.
that you can do daily, and sometimes the thing that you do sustainable and that you can do daily is not actually either
Got it,
like
nice.
fits your goals or like does what you want. For me, it did fit my goals for a very long time because I got very comfortable making tutorials. But then there was a point in time where like, yeah, I don't need to do daily tutorial uploads anymore, and it is exhausting and also just didn't serve what I wanted to do anymore.
gosh, I had a
but yeah,
feeling
to
he was
your
around, that's why I
question,
worded
I
that
have never
push.
seen anyone really do it because I think
Maybe
it
with
like
the toad I
is
can
extra
finish.
hard if you do like tech because you can't just because you're like
Oh, it's
trying to
1-for-1
like
now.
put like good
fine.
information in there. Especially if you're like doing other crap with your life, because like there's like Graham Steffens, like
really
a
knew
coach
he'd be
that I can
around
think
here,
of
too.
that does like a similar schedule for finance, and I like it's kind of like that.
Probably because I invaded
makes a
his
ton of
wolves.
sense,
But whenever
yeah.
you
I've
start that,
definitely
it's like,
felt
oh,
the,
you
like,
crossed the line, right? It's like using
What
an
am I going
improved
to fill
weapon.
the space
He's like,
with?
okay,
and do
now
I
I'm
have to
going to invade
change
you
the
back,
content,
even if it
like,
doesn't make sense.
I'm doing to hit the daily like goal. The way we've been doing it so far, and I've gotten content booked for the next 3 weeks, so I hope this is sustainable. We'll learn quickly if it's not. I do 1 stream, sometimes 2 a week. That's 4 to 6 hours. I plan a bunch of topics ahead of time, and I go out of my way to gun through at least 7 a stream, so we can chop those and make those all videos. I also have the interviews that I do, ideally at least once a week, that can be the whole interview that's uploaded, and then we can take chunks out of that too for interesting moments. It's like
No,
I'm
that's a good
doing
way
what,
to do it.
yeah, it should be 4 channels is what I should be doing, but I want to see what happens if I flood one channel with 5 types of content that are like in the same circle, and then I'm going to break it up and see what happens from that too, because I want to understand the algorithms and how YouTube's doing all these things, and I feel like I'm at a loss right now, and every time I do something stupid like this, I learn so much.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how that goes for you, because theoretically, I believe it should be okay, because right now, YouTube suggestions are like the primary
No
thing
pink?
that
Good.
drives traffic, and they should be finding who likes your video and like figuring that out. Theoretically, that's how it should work. I don't know in actuality if how that'll pan out. I'm imagining it's gonna be fine.
Oh, we got like
Are
some
you
and
doing
stuff.
much shorts content, or do you clip and it's
They never expect you to just walk
We
back.
are experimenting with shorts. My shorts editor has quickly become the main channel editor, so he's been doing
He's
as
gonna
many
eat this
shorts
bush, right?
recently. But the only place I've gotten good like viewership on short form vertical content has been Twitter. I tried TikTok and YouTube. I think that the viewers we're aiming for are a bit too senior, and
That makes sense. I don't think anyone. I think as the higher you go up from like.
That Grim's
age,
top, we
the
can take
less
this.
People are usually in general watching the vertical content. I imagine.
yeah, I am very curious about your TikTok come up. It's something that I've been fascinated by
Yeah,
for a
ask
while.
Bottom
I don't
for
feel
help.
like
I
you
got it on my own. It's just gonna be slower.
dumbed down your content, like you changed it and
Unless
made it
Rise
work
comes.
there. But yeah, how did TikTok happen for you?
You could kind of say it's dumbed down, but also at the same time, yeah, it's kind of just like very different. I mean, to me, it was a transition that happened kind of slowly. That at first I was making the same content I was making on YouTube.
Who am I more
TikTok.
worried of? Oh, bottom.
And
Okay, we're going
I
this way.
found, like you did, there's less senior people on TikTok, at least when I was posting. And so they do not know what coding is on TikTok, a lot of the people. They did not know what HTML was, and they did not laugh when I said HTML is not a programming language, or it is a programming language. Like, these are just like concepts that are like, what even is HTML? Like, that's a website. Like, you gotta go like one level different. I quickly learned, and the combination of that, and they don't even want you to sit there and
Oh,
explain
until Smite
HTML
evolves,
to
it only
them.
does 450.
Like, they
Just like
don't-
your first 6
they-
smites
if
of the
you
game
ask
only do
somebody if they
450.
want any coding content, whatever, they're gonna
And
tell
that's
you
what the Hailblade, the jungler
But
item, goes away after you
package
smite like 5
coding
times, and
content
from then on it does
that looks
900,
kinda
and
similar
it
to
has like
content
extra
that you're
effects. Like now,
consuming.
the red one
and
is
all
like
of a sudden
exhaust,
there's like
it
a
reduces the
tidbit
damage that
of
someone does to you.
non-sci in there. Then they're like,
And
okay,
I got that
that's
because
kind
they
of like quirky and
Hecarim,
cool.
and
Ooh,
he's
there's,
just
like,
gonna
comp
jump on my
icons.
ass.
Like I've always wanted to
The
learn
blue
to
smite's
code.
not gonna get him
There's,
off me,
like,
so it's
tons
gonna
of
have to be a
different
fight to the death.
So I think that's like the thing.
Yeah, when you need to fight to the death, you get the red smite. When you need to
and like over time just making
pick
lots of
squishy
different
people,
coding
get
content.
burst
I just tried to make
damage,
coding fun,
slow 'em down,
if you will,
then you
or
get
like
blue
not
smite.
even fun. I tried to make coding content that somebody would watch like if they cared about coding. That was like my goal, and I tried lots of things. And one thing I noticed is people liked watching girls on TikTok. So like, what if I stitch? And stitching is like you take a part of somebody else's video. So like, what if I take a part of this girl's video and I put at the beginning of mine, and then I talk about coding at the end. So all of a sudden, you're getting that like thing you're used to, and then like you go like intertwine with that. And that was like the first thing that worked very well. And then I just like, yeah, I mean, the short answer is I learned the TikTok meta, and I like tried to work with the CS slowly and surely, and then over time it got less and less CS. As you might imagine, the mainstream is like less and less into CS, and that's kind of just what happened. That was like the journey of how we got here. Yeah.
That makes a ton of sense. I saw a Hank Green video he quickly filmed when he was at the YouTube Summit a few days ago that's been melting my brain since, because I think a lot about like the relationship between these platforms. What he said, the big difference between YouTube, like traditional videos, like horizontal, like thumbnails you click, versus shorts and TikTok, is that with a traditional YouTube video, the viewer picks what to watch. With TikTok and shorts, the viewer picks when to stop watching. So you make content that might not necessarily be clickable, but holds their attention for as long as possible. Versus on YouTube, you have to make the most clickable content and then hold their attention.
Right, there's no thumbnail anymore.
Yeah, and the difference there,
Like-
and like you can do entirely different types of content you might not have been able to otherwise, because as long as you can keep them interested for that first 5 seconds and then hold their attention decently strong from there.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I think that really complements your point of like
Thanks,
people
'cause it
aren't
gives you
clicking
true damage
CS
to them.
videos, but if
But also just
you
people who are
get their
going to, like,
attention by
stick
putting
to
a
you
hot
like
girl at the
glue.
beginning,
Like,
and
the blue
then
can peel
hold
people
their
off.
attention with a jarring
The
shift
Hecarim
in a
has so
moment,
much stick, you're never gonna
that
peel them off.
you can make them watch something they might not have clicked on, even though it entertains them.
I'd agree with that. I think also you can make it work with YouTube in a different way, because like Michael Reeves does a really good job of this, where his videos are very comp sci. Like he'll even show code on the screen, but he doesn't show that much. But at the end of the day, he's just like making a robot that pees. Well, not literally, but you know, like he's doing something dumb like that, and that's like the title, and that's like how you hook them. So, and the other thing is too, on YouTube, they just it is more, I'd say, like developers that are watching right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've noticed, like, first I have to shout out Primogen because he spent $5 for me to tell you that your editor's weak. But
I have an editor, or is he talking about your editor?
he said tell Ben that your editor, or that his editor is weak. So it might be your code
Oh
editor.
yeah,
it might
I'm
be
my
your
own
video
editor. That's why. I agree.
Oh, I actually love that.
I've-
Sorry.
Well, I was gonna say I've always, unfortunately, never been like a
Oh, Rise
person,
came
like,
too.
video
I was
person.
hopeless from the start.
My
This
film
Rise is
director's
always roaming. Look at him.
my editor's weak.
What a roamer.
My
Didn't need to alt for it, he just
everything
walked
is
up.
weak except for now and then I have some decent content ideas. And that's about it.
Oh no.
I literally spend zero time. I like clip talking points, and that's about it. Sometimes I'll overlay some text. But yeah, I know it's absolute garbage. I mean, at some
If you
point I'll
didn't miss
hire
alt, that was clean.
an editor, but I would have to be taking my content seriously, and I just like haven't been doing that for a hot minute. So that's why there's like I'm currently the editor. But yeah, I know I need an editor basically. Is the answer.
I mostly agree. Something I lecture a lot of like creators and people in the space about. I feel like most people get an editor way too early in the career of their channel. Like they are all in on the idea of being a YouTuber, but like something you described earlier is like you learn the meta of TikTok by being on TikTok a bunch, by making TikToks, trying different things and seeing how they work. I think that your success on TikTok is from that level of involvement, and when you pay an editor, you're detaching yourself meaningfully. And I think that that detachment keeps you from hitting like your potential cap. I am fascinated by how successful you were, and also that you've been your editor this whole time. I think those are very strongly aligned things.
Yeah, I think that's also what I love about 15-second content is like editing those
Oh man, that was so good.
That's beautiful.
The Rise has infinite
obviously the
stuns
meta
because
is, like,
every time he lands an ability,
captions
all
on
of
your
his
short
cooldowns get
videos,
reset,
which
so he
is
can
fast.
just infinitely chain abilities.
I'm
and one of
actually
his
that's
abilities
the
is a
one thing
root,
that's
so he
like
can
that's
just
so
infinitely
easy to
chain the
hire
root
her
as
for,
long as
like,
he
that
wants
was
to.
probably gonna happen.
It's not really a stun because you can still cast abilities, but you can't move. So it's a permanent
thought
root
I was going to
until
have to
someone
go
like gets
all
an
in on
off
that.
view
Then
or he runs
CapCut
out of
needed 2
mana.
button clicks, and now, or not, CapCut or Descript both are really good for that. So it's not too bad to add captions, but I'd say that's when I decided, oh yeah, I'll pull people on. I definitely need the help.
Nice.
And now that we're
Our
going to the
bottom's
daily
super solid
uploads,
though. The
even
Braum
more
is
so.
awesome.
But I go out
But
of
our
my way
Kiana
to
is,
watch
like,
all of the
super
edits
bad.
that the team's making,
Now
give a
you
lot
can't
of
ult
feedback,
out a
and
root.
be
You
like
can't
as
do anything.
involved
You
as I
get cleanse
can.
out of it, I guess.
And I think that we've like set a bar
Yeah.
for the way the content should go
No,
and
it doesn't
work.
stop it because its
And
cooldown is like half a
I
second,
accept
and
that,
the
like,
root is
I
for
will
like a
not
second.
make
So
videos
you can
that are
just keep
better than the
spamming it
videos
no
I've
matter
made
how
in the
much mastery
past.
you have.
But we can set a new like bar, and as long as we always hit that bar,
He's
I think we
basically
can
like one of the
get some
anti-mages,
crazy
but he's
amounts.
been in a really bad spot for a long time, but they buffed him last patch. So now people are
Apparently,
trying it
Primogen
again.
meant your code editor, though. Please tell me you're not still on Adam.
Oh. You think I'm on Adam? You know I'm not on Adam.
Just making
Like,
sure.
I mean, are you still on Vim? Like, that's the question I have to ask you too.
I'm all the way
like-
back on VS Code. I've hopped around enough, and Microsoft's IDE team knows what they're doing, and the results in editor I'm relatively pleasantly happy with.
I haven't configured my editor in like 2 years. How many times have you configured yours? That's my only question for you.
He makes most of his content about configuring his editor.
Exactly. So
That's fine. It's like car people. Like,
Oh no, that was pretty good.
who is a happier car owner?
So
The
close.
guy who bought a
trying to
Mustang
hop
from the
over to the
60s that he keeps
chicken's wall.
replacing every
But we got
part
a
of,
flash heal
or
off,
the
that's pretty
person who
good.
just bought
Should be able
like
to win the
a
next
new
fight.
Tesla or a Prius and
Doing it all
has never
too.
opened their car before. Like, it's two different things.
So
not
close.
one is wrong,
There
but
we go, it's
like,
just crazy
what's the
tower
goal
damage.
of the car?
Always outnumbered. I don't know.
I'm just
Our
gonna
mid's
say
just
you
like
did the best one.
wants to
That's
AFK
who I
farm.
am as a person.
Love it so much. The original reason I brought up Primogen though is I think there's been a renaissance in more senior YouTube content. Like it took a while for like senior developers who care way too much about their egos to even move from like books are the source of truth to blog posts are the source of truth. And I think we're
Right.
finally moving to like places like Twitter are a good way to learn about deep technical things. As silly as it is, like lots of good things happen on Twitter about the tech that we work with every day.
Oh my gosh,
I
they're
think
so
we're
weak.
starting to
All
see
of them are
people
so
recognize
weak. Are you kidding me?
YouTube as a meaningful place for that as well. And I want to really, like, I know Primogen's annoyed for me shouting him out as often as I do for this. I think him and Jack Harrington in particular are two of the people who have really
Well,
pushed
that
that
shit
and
doesn't
have
work
like,
out anyway.
made YouTube something
Yeah,
that people
Top
take a little
Canyon
more
for real.
seriously.
I knew this thing
Not
was
just
bad
a way
'cause
for
of
new
last
devs
game,
to
but-
learn, but
well.
for like careered and salaried devs to continue growing.
Right. I mean, I've said this for a while. I actually just think after like the very basics of programming is pretty like everyone likes to make those videos.
No,
But
not
after
Merc
that,
Treads.
it's like
They're all like
it's
AD,
it's like
Misfortune,
really
Hecarim, and
like
Urgot. Urgot's the super fed one. Like the two most
tech
fed people on the team are both
YouTubers, like,
AD.
literally drop out and stop making videos so often. Like I'm like out of the loop, barely posting anymore.
That
Like
guy's
everyone
just getting
like
kills 'cause he
will
walks
eventually
places and
drop
gets
out.
them.
There's not enough
Or,
people
like,
coming in, and more
what's their
tech
face,
YouTubers
Canada
drop
doesn't
out
come in
or
with
not
ult to
posting
stun him
enough,
off of
and
his-
that's just
from a root.
how it is. So like, here's why it's a problem. If I got like a fat salary at Google, like my incentive to go on weekends and post YouTube videos is very low. So I get that's like the scenario for a lot of tech workers. They just got fat salaries. Like why are they making YouTube videos?
Yeah.
So I think that's like contributes to the problem. But there's tons of watchers. Like the eyeballs are there for like tech content on YouTube. So,
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that what I've noticed with the shift is there are more eyeballs, and those eyeballs are more and more senior. Both like the kids who grew up watching YouTube videos now have jobs themselves and are making lots of money and are used to going to YouTube and Twitch and these platforms to learn more. So that's how they got there in the first place. so they've graduated the tutorial channels they grew up on.
I pinked the
and they're
bush so
looking
you
for
can
the
see
next
me. That
thing.
sucks.
And I think that, like, I know a bunch of people who are like framework authors. Like, apparently
so close.
Ryan Carniato, the creator of SolidJS, is
close.
also live, which sucks
this guy
because
doing?
I'm a
Just
good friend
watching?
of his, and I hate like
you can get
conflicting
my
with his
dragon.
stream time. I know he's Wednesday
get
every
him.
week, and I
Go get him.
overbooked it because I'm stupid. But like, the fact that I
Here he
can
goes.
plan around
Here he
my
goes.
stream
Oh,
with
babe.
the author of one of my favorite
Nice.
frameworks, and he's the type of person who's also streaming now, is a huge shift in the dynamic of these platforms. Like, there just was not this level of like
Oh my gosh,
very
if he gets
technical
it.
people
That's right.
like doing content.
That's great too. I mean, also like, it's like a great way to get GitHub stars. So like, as they doing the right thing, like I support that 100%. Like it's like one of the best
That
ways to
character's
get
so
the word
dumb.
out
He literally
about-
just runs
about
around at
your,
super
like,
speed and like
your
people die to
stuff.
poison.
And also like people, there's like I'd say just a split of people that love actual watching a video versus like reading a video. And so you just like miss out. Like also like me being only a YouTube person, I missed out on a lot of people that just like.
Wait, did you ever got alt that?
too? So
I know,
you,
Brom
you
got
do
it,
like
okay.
hit different.
I was like,
markets
wait, what?
doing each one too.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
got him.
I'm
Like,
just
there's no
pumped
way.
that this market is growing because for a long time,
We
I
get
think
him.
YouTube was seen as the thing for
Got
noobs.
Ultimate
Like beginners go there
Right.
to learn, but now it's a place where real technical discussions can happen. Like a silly example,
there we
like
go.
last year, I don't
Reds
think
might help
any
so much with the
streamers or
damage
YouTubers were
mitigation.
accepted to speak at NextConf. This year, like half the speakers are streamers and YouTubers.
You're probably
and
killing
that's
Misfortune
such
because she'll
a
walk
huge
up to
shift in
Baron
how like
to
the
ward the Baron.
creators
She's gonna
of the
eat the
tools
bush
that we
first,
work with
though,
every
before
day
she walks
are
in the bush.
thinking of YouTube as well.
He always
that's a good
is ahead
point.
of where she goes. Oh no,
And
I
like
don't want that.
I mean I think
Let's
it's
look at the
good.
Misfortune,
And like
but
I
she is
think
alone. Her
also
support's up there. Let's get her.
the next shift is gonna be them.
Ah, Flash is
making
good. Oh
videos
shit.
and whatnot, too. I don't think it's gonna happen for a bit. It's not there, but I think that's gonna be the next thing.
Dang.
Absolutely. And I'm curious
Oh,
what
it's a big
few
leader!
people have seen. Shout out to Ben Holmes on the
Nope.
Astro team. He's one of the first people
Got
I've
the
seen
heal,
doing
though.
vertical video, mostly on Twitter, that's focused on much more senior topics. Like he'll take one of my 1 hour plus long rants and turn that into like a 1 minute whiteboard video that he highly edits and shares. I think that's going to be one of those next metas where people are going to stuff like that for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean I love those. Like I'll sit through highly technical content on my phone for a minute. I know
Oh,
like
man.
the audience is not there yet, but
Oh
there's,
no,
like,
she
few
flashed in
people
Mr.
I
W.
know.
Yeah. And if you can saturate those
I'm glad
people-
it worked on Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely. I still find Twitter is like my favorite platform, even if it doesn't bring me too much. I love the nature of it being like both async and very conversational, like just the funny moments and back and forths and like
So if Leon
Twitter
is there,
Spaces
the Misfortune's
and
probably
all the
nearby,
content
right?
that I get and generate from
Oh,
like,
no.
my community. I often joke like half of my content nowadays are things that I just stole straight from my Discord, and it's great. Like my
Oh, he's gonna go
community
take my blue
is
buff.
making
We
so
can't
much of my
stop him.
content for me.
Right. Yeah, no, I
I
think
can smite it from
Twitter's,
him, I
like,
guess.
Like if I had to name it,
one.
like I feel like
No,
online,
no.
the like Twitter dev community is probably like the place to get up to date stuff on. Like maybe
Nice.
Reddit,
Oh, I got the blue.
maybe YouTube, but like Twitter's like the one where like you're gonna find everybody. Like the authors of all your open source libraries are at least on Twitter if they're not on YouTube.
Yes.
And like they're posting stuff
Yep, and I've made some of my like closest friends through that too. Like huge shout out to Tanner Lindsley, the creator of React Query, for catching me like a 300 follower, not even account, asking about how I could make a code generator that makes type safe React Query calls to an API. And
We gotta kill the
Right.
pink cord in the
from
back.
there, he introduced me to
Who's
Alex,
gonna
the
do
creator of
it? I'll cover
TRPC,
you.
and here we are now as like the
Nice.
creator or whatever. But that all started just from me talking to people, building interesting things that I use.
I had to poke Tanner so much. I'm glad he finally has embraced it.
I did not know you were one of the people who did that. Not only has he embraced it, he's
Gotta
one of
kill
the
him,
like
Misfortune.
people who pushes hard. That's like, this sucked as a framework maintainer and a library builder, but it was so worth it. Everyone else needs to do it too.
Oh yeah. And like, yeah, that's it's one of those
Run him
things.
down! Oh, I'm dead. Forgot can ult me.
That's just like, how can you not?
There it is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also like something I've been pushing more and more is that there's a distinction between how TypeScript works and feels as a person building for non-technical users. Like when I'm building, when the output isn't code that is consumed by another developer, rather it's like a page or a JSON blob or things like that, that TypeScript's a much more pleasant experience than when you're building a library to be consumed. That particular process and that level of working within TypeScript is much more complex than the world a lot of us live in, just building applications for users, which is why we see maintainers like Ryan Carniato and like Tanner Lindsley hesitating to get into TypeScript because it's a lot more work and a lot less benefit at that.
Like, who knows the names of these random developers? Oh, Tanner Lindsley. Like, what? I guess I knew Dan Bader because he's like viral on Twitter and has a funny face, but like, it's just weird hearing devs like name other devs as superstars and stuff. Super weird. Oh, I'm not keen on that. I mean, it is 5v4 if we get everybody up around here. I think we can edge him out. I'm gonna break the pink by the dragon. Okay, let's just start it before Urgot's back up. Be nice if somebody broke the pink ward though. Nice. So much better to get a few kills and then get the dragon anyway. It's the best feeling. But Tanner Lindsley doesn't know that feeling. Use this fire dragon on him. Yeah, the fire soul. So good. How do we get 4 dragons this game? Makes no sense. Like, their map awareness has been so much better and somehow we got all 4. It's not even on our side of the map. No smite, but I think we're okay. Don't let me all steal it. Nice. Do I want to help team or keep pushing? Wow, they've got it. I don't even need to help. Oh, Lich Bane plus the blue potion is so much tower damage. Oh no, Leona's here. Otherwise, open season. Okay, get the MF on her rotation down to Leona. Or she's not even gonna move. She's just tilted. Okay, okay. That works too. I am so tired of that misfortune. And the game's about to end, so use everything. Is there a guy saying that? I want to know too. Like, you look at the scoreboard, it does not make sense at all. 100 more. No, get him.
Point in like the stack.
Agreed. I mean, it's just tougher. Sucks
Yeah.
to be a library developer. Glad I'm not one.
For real though. One of the coolest things that happened in this community is people were asking me to make a template of the T3 stack and the tech I use, and I refused, because if I make that template, people are going to add like a database and an auth plugin to their blogs, and I don't want people using the stack for blogs. So I haven't been clear about this. The T3 stack is not for blogs. Static content should use static frameworks that build high quality static sites. If you're building an application, this is one of the hardest to beat stacks for it. But I refused to build a template for that reason. I said eventually maybe I, or someone, if anyone wants to, could build a scaffolding CLI where you pick the parts you need and it adds those in. And a community member, Nexel, went and built it. And now it's sitting with over 7,500 stars on GitHub. It's been used to start countless projects. It's the better Create Next app with much more type safety baked in. The goal of it was to build you full stack type safety from database to user. And now you can do it in one CLI command.
Beautiful.
Yeah. On that topic, have you played with TRPC yet? I know I mentioned it to you before.
I have not played it yet. I've just like seen it pop more and more up on my Twitter feed. But no, I have not tried it yet. I haven't really done a new project in like the past few months to like give it a go. I'm still using good old GraphQL right now, but it is on my list of things to try for sure.
Yeah, I have been doing more GraphQL stuff, even though nobody's asking. Like the GraphQL topic has died so hard. I actually just had a long talk with the founder of EdgeDB yesterday, where I was convincing him to drop GraphQL from their product. But I think GraphQL has been so misunderstood about like where it goes and how to use it. And to be clear, you're one of the people that uses it correct. You build a GraphQL schema and you fulfill it on one side and you consume it on the other. So I'll just ask, how do you feel about things like Hasura that generate a GraphQL schema on top of your database rather than giving you a backend to work with?
Yeah, I mean, I personally have always been a fan of more custom resolvers, which is why I have not really used that, because I've always, I mean, for the most part, the reason I don't like it is because most of the time you like the API they spit you out, you like need to make changes to it. So like most of the time I don't get that much value out of using something like that. So I have not really used it much, and not like, I'm not the pusher of it, you know.
Yep.
I'm a pusher of other things.
I'm an active detractor of it. I really like the way the TRPC creator put it, where auto-generated GraphQL makes the easy things slightly easier and the hard things nearly impossible. And the beauty of GraphQL is like what you're using it for, where you're defining an API exactly as the clients need it and use it in a file that describes what that API is, the resolvers in the schema. Having a schema that you build to fulfill specific needs is the best part of GraphQL. Like GraphQL is a way to build an API as a schema. And if you're not building a schema,
Right.
you're not using GraphQL.
I agree. And yeah, like I would say the reason I even used GraphQL at the beginning is because I was attracted to the idea of type safe, like API calls. That's like that's like my favorite thing about GraphQL.
Yep.
And it just has it had the most tooling. Now that like there's a new library where I don't have to like, because like in my opinion the downside of GraphQL is it also comes with a little bit of like complex. Yeah, like
Hmm. Watch this.
I would say the reason I even use GraphQL at the beginning of GraphQL right now, but it is on my list of things to try for sure.
Wait.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
have been
here it
doing more
comes.
GraphQL stuff, even though nobody's asking. Like the GraphQL topic has died so hard.
And
I
the
actually just had a
left.
long talk with the founder of EdgeDB yesterday, where I was convincing him to drop GraphQL from their product. But I think GraphQL has been so misunderstood about like where it goes and how to use it. And to be clear, you're one of the people that uses it correct. You build a GraphQL schema and you fulfill it on one side and you consume it on the other. So I'll just ask, how do you feel about things like Hasura that generate a GraphQL schema on
Oh,
top
I
of
went
your
back a
database
little
rather
far,
than
but keep
giving you
watching
a
the
back
guy on
and
the
forth?
left.
Yeah, I mean, I personally have always been a fan of more custom resolvers, which is why I have not really used that, because I've always, yeah, I mean, for the most part, the reason I don't like it is because most of the time you like the API they spit you out, you like need to make changes to it. So like most of the time, I don't get that much value out of using something like that. So I have not really used it much, and not like, yeah, I'm not the pusher of it. You know,
Yeah,
I'm a pusher of other things.
I'm an active detractor of it. I really like the way the TRPC creator put it, where
Here it comes.
auto-generated GraphQL makes the easy things slightly easier and the hard things nearly impossible. And the
Right.
beauty of GraphQL is like what you're using it for, where you're defining an
comes.
API exactly as the clients need it and use it in a file that describes what that API is, the resolvers in the schema. Having a schema that you build to fulfill specific
gosh, where is
needs
it?
is the best part of GraphQL. Like GraphQL is a way to build an API as a schema. And if you're not building a schema,
Right.
you're not using GraphQL.
I
There
agree.
it is. You see
And
that?
yeah, like
You see that
You're
chip
not
twitch?
using GraphQL.
I agree. And
So
yeah, like
excited. He's like
you're
a
not using
chipmunk
GraphQL.
talking about GraphQL.
I agree. And yeah, like I would say
These guys look exactly as you'd imagine. Like the voice fits the bill so much. Oh man, so brutal. Sometimes like, so he did that talk on databases where he's drawing on the blackboard or whatever. It was actually pretty interesting, but like this talk is not interesting. It's all just word salad too. It's like if you're not using a database schema as an active API, then you are not doing real GraphQL. It's like, okay, man, I don't know. You can use it for what you want to use it for. Oh my gosh, he was generating his GraphQL schemas from a static file. Aha, get this, from a static file. Oh man.
Minions have spawned.
Maybe he's sleeping for a bit. And it just sprawled out Superman style. Please die. Okay, there we go. Ooh, spicy plays! Pretty good. I forgot that he heals for a percent of his missing HP. He's like Silas, but it's targeted and it stuns you and heals him. Oh no, Pike missed. He's got it right. Somebody got it. Nice. Get that wave under tower, soldier. He's gone. The creeps. Aw, she got me though. Oh no, Katarina's coming. Katerina.
An enemy has been slain.
Finish it, Skull. You can finish it. Yeah, good job. Oh, Tesla AI Day is going on, isn't it? is it just starting? Wow. I think Elon's like always late to these things, so I'm pretty sure we're supposed to start at like 7. Every event, Elon's like super late.
Welcome to Tesla AI Day 2022.
Should we alt for him? It helped out Tristana.
Show you. I think you'll be pretty impressed. I do want to set some expectations with respect to our Optimus robot. As you know, last year it was just a person in a robot suit. But we've come a long way, and it's I think compared to that, it's going to be very impressive. And we're going to talk about the advancements in AI for full self-driving, as well as how they apply to more generally to real-world AI problems like the humanoid robot, and even going beyond that. I think there's some potential that what we're doing here at Tesla could make a meaningful contribution to AGI. And I think actually Tesla's a good entity to do it from a governance standpoint, because we're a publicly traded company with one class of stock, and that means that the public controls Tesla, and I think that's a good thing. So if I go crazy, you can fire me. This is important.
Sorry, it's like amazing.
Okay, all right. So we're going to talk a lot about our progress in AI at Autopilot, as well as progress in the dojo, and then we're going to bring the team out and do a long Q&A, so you can ask tough questions, whatever you like, existential questions, technical questions, but we want to have as much time for Q&A as possible. So let's see, with that, because
Hey guys, I'm Evelynn. I work on Autopilot and the team member.
Okay. So should we bring out the bot?
Before we do that, we have one little bonus tip for the day. This is actually the first time we try this robot without any backup support, trains, mechanical mechanisms, no cables, nothing.
Yeah.
I want to do it with you guys tonight, but it's the first time, so let's see.
You ready? Let's go.
Go.
Oh shoot, I need to see this. Okay, I'll send it. Ah. I mean, it's actually not too bad. It's a lot slimmer than Boston Dynamics robot. Let's see if it falls down on stage or not. Doing an okay job walking, actually. It's alright.
I think the bug got some boo. Yeah. So this is essentially the same full self-driving computer that runs in your Tesla cars, by the way.
Yeah, it feels really like
This
it's
is
like the pig brain
literally
thing
the
all
first
over
time
again, right?
the robot has operated without a tether was on stage tonight.
How are we fighting this? I'm having some fights. We're gonna do. That's okay. Need to shop anywhere?
So the robot can actually do a lot more than we just showed you. We just didn't want it to fall on its face. So we'll show you some videos now of the robot doing a bunch of other things. Yeah, which are less risky.
Should close the screen, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to show a little bit more what we've done over the past few months with the bot, and just walking around and dancing on stage. Just humble beginnings, but you can see the autopilot neural networks running as is, just retrained for the bot directly on that new platform. That's my watering can.
Yeah, when you see a rendered view, that's the robot. That's the world the robot sees. So it's very clearly identifying objects. Like this is the object it should picking it up. Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
We use the same process as we did for autopilot to collect data and train neural networks that we then deploy on the robot. That's an example that illustrates the upper body a little bit more. Something that we'll try to nail down in a few months, over the next few months, I would say. Perfection.
This is really an actual system that bring on factory as well.
Does Tesla actually have industry-leading image segmentation though? Like, I don't think that's their strong point.
And that's not the only thing we have to show today, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So
I mean, they make their own GPUs, so they have good training
what you saw was what we call Bumblebee.
advantage.
That's our sort of rough development robot using semi-off-the-shelf actuators. But we actually have gone a step further than that already. The team's done an incredible job. And we actually have an Optimus bot with fully Tesla-designed and built actuators, battery pack, control system, everything. It wasn't quite ready to walk, but I think it will walk in a few weeks. But we wanted to show you the robot, something that's actually fairly close to what will go into production, and show you all the things it can do. So let's bring it out.
Do it.
Oh, they put some plates on it. Nice. Does this not just feel really gimmicky still though? Like, it feels like such an end run thing. Yeah, we won, they surrendered. That was such a boring game. Didn't even have to pay attention. Yeah.
So here you're seeing Optimus with these are with the degrees of freedom that we expect to have in Optimus Production Unit 1, which is the ability to move all the fingers independently, to have the thumb have 2 degrees of freedom, so it has opposable thumbs, and both left and right hand, so it's able to operate tools and do useful things. Our goal is to make a useful humanoid robot as quickly as possible. And we've also designed it using the same discipline that we use.
Yeah, the thing doing the backflips and everything. It's like so much cooler.
Design it for manufacturing such that it's possible.
Also, it just feels like Tesla keeps promising new things, right? Like they promised the Tesla Semi like 5 years ago and didn't deliver it, and now they're promising more stuff. They're just building like a backlog of promises.
We've all seen very impressive humanoid.
They've only come out with like 2 products, which is like Starlink.
That's great, but what are they missing?
Why?
They're missing.
I don't know what else have they done like the last 5 years.
They don't have the intelligence to navigate
the Starlink and the Model Y, I think,
by themselves, and they're also very expensive and made in low volume. Whereas Optimus is designed to be an extremely capable robot, but made in very high volume, probably ultimately millions of units, and it is expected to cost much less than a car.
We'll just bring it directly to the right here.
I would say probably less than $20,000 would be my guess. Okay. The potential for Optimus is, I think, appreciated by very few people.
Hey.
as usual, Tesla demos are coming in hot. So.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. The team's the team has put in an incredible amount of work, working days, 7 days a week, burning the 3 a.m. oil to get to the demonstration today. Super proud of what they've done. They've really done a great job. I'd just like to give a hand to the whole Optimus team. So, now there's still a lot of work to be done to refine Optimus and improve it. Obviously, this is just Optimus version 1. And that's really why we're holding this event, which is to convince some of the most talented people in the world, like you guys, to join Tesla and help make it a reality and bring it to fruition at scale such that it can help millions of people. And the potential, like I said, is really boggles the mind, because you have to say, like, what is an economy? An economy is sort of productive entities times their productivity, capita times output, productivity per capita. At the point at which there is not a limitation on capita, it's not clear what an economy even means at that point. An economy becomes quasi-infinite. So what taken to fruition in the hopefully benign scenario, this means a future of abundance, a future where there is no poverty, where you can have whatever you want in terms of products and services. It really is a fundamental transformation of civilization as we know it. Obviously, we want to make sure that transformation is a positive one and safe. But that's also why I think Tesla as an entity doing this, being a single class of stock, publicly traded, owned by the public, is very important and should not be overlooked. I think this is essential, because then if the public doesn't like what Tesla's doing, the public can buy shares in Tesla and vote differently. This is a big deal. Like, it's very important that I can't just do what I want. Sometimes people think that, but it's not true. It's very important that the corporate entity that makes this happen is something that the public can properly influence. And so I think the Tesla structure is ideal for that. And like I said, self-driving cars will certainly have a tremendous impact on the world. I think they will improve the productivity of transport by at least a half order of magnitude, perhaps an order of magnitude, perhaps more. Optimus, I think, has maybe a 2 order of magnitude potential improvement in economic output. It's not clear what the limit actually even is. But we need to do this in the right way. We need to do it carefully and safely, and ensure that the outcome is one that is beneficial to civilization and one that humanity wants. This is also extremely important, obviously. So, and I hope you will consider joining Tesla to achieve those goals. At Tesla, we really care about doing the right thing here, or aspire to do the right thing, and really not pave the road to hell with good intentions. And I think the road to hell is mostly paved with bad intentions, but every now and again there's a good intention in there. So we want to do the right thing. So consider joining us and helping make it happen. With that, let's move on to the next phase.
Right on. Thank you, Elon. All right, so you've seen a couple robots today. Let's do a quick timeline recap. So last year we unveiled the Tesla Bot concept, but a concept doesn't get us very far. We knew we needed a real development and integration platform to get real-life learnings as quickly as possible. So that robot that came out and did the little routine for you guys, we had that within 6 months, built, working on software integration, hardware upgrades over the months since then. But in parallel, we've also been designing the next generation, this one over here. So this guy is rooted in the foundation of sort of the vehicle design process. You know, we're leveraging all of those learnings that we already have. Obviously, there's a lot that's changed since last year, but there's a few things that are still the same, you'll notice. We still have this really detailed focus on the true human form. We think that matters for a few reasons. But it's fun. We spend a lot of time thinking about how amazing the human body is. We have this incredible range of motion, typically really amazing strength. A fun exercise is if you put your fingertip on the chair in front of you, you'll notice that there's a huge range of motion that you have in your shoulder and your elbow, for example. Without moving your fingertip, you can move those joints all over the place. But the robot, you know, its main function is to do real useful work. And it maybe doesn't necessarily need all of those degrees of freedom right away. So we've stripped it down to a minimum sort of 28 fundamental degrees of freedom, and then of course our hands in addition to that. Humans are also pretty efficient at some things and not so efficient in other times. So for example, we can eat a small amount of food to sustain ourselves for several hours. That's great. But when we're just kind of sitting around, no offense, but we're kind of inefficient. We're just sort of burning energy. So on the robot platform, what we're going to do is we're going to minimize that idle power consumption, drop it as low as possible. And that way we can just flip a switch and immediately the robot turns into something that does useful work. So let's talk about this latest generation in some detail, shall we? So on the screen here, you'll see in orange our actuators, which we'll get to in a little bit, and in blue our electrical system. So now that we have our sort of human-based research, and we have our first development platform, we have both research and execution to draw from for this design. Again, we're using that vehicle design foundation, so we're taking it from concept through design and analysis, and then build and validation. Along the way, we're going to optimize for things like cost and efficiency because those are critical metrics to take this product to scale eventually. How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to reduce our part count and our power consumption of every element possible. We're going to do things like reduce the sensing and the wiring at our extremities. You can imagine a lot of mass in your hands and feet is going to be quite difficult and power consumptive to move around. And we're going to centralize both our power distribution and our compute to the physical center of the platform. So in the middle of our torso, actually it is the torso, we have our battery pack. This is sized at 2.3 kilowatt hours, which is perfect for about a full day's worth of work. What's really unique about this battery pack is it has all of the battery electronics integrated into a single PCB within the pack. So that means everything from sensing to fusing, charge management, and power distribution is all in one place. We're also leveraging both our vehicle products and our energy products to roll all of those key features into this battery. So that's streamlined manufacturing, really efficient and simple cooling methods, battery management, and also safety. And of course, we can leverage Tesla's existing infrastructure and supply chain to make it. So going on to sort of our brain, it's not in the head, but it's pretty close. Also in our torso, we have our central computer. So as you know, Tesla already ships full self-driving computers in every vehicle we produce. We want to leverage both the autopilot hardware and the software for the humanoid platform, but because it's different in requirements and in form factor, we're going to change a few things first. So we still are it's going to do everything that a human brain does, processing vision data, making split-second decisions based on multiple sensory inputs, and also communications. So to support communications, it's equipped with wireless connectivity as well as audio support. And then it also has hardware-level security features, which are important to protect both the robot and the people around the robot. So now that we have our sort of core, we're going to need some limbs on this guy. And we'd love to show you a little bit about our actuators and our fully functional hands as well. But before we do that, I'd like to introduce Malcolm, who's going to speak a little bit about our structural foundation for the robot.
Thank you, Lizzie. Tesla have the capabilities to analyze highly complex systems. They don't get much more complex than a crash. You can see here a simulated crash from Model 3 superimposed on top of the actual physical crash. It's actually incredible how accurate it is. Just to give you an idea of the complexity of this model, it includes every nut, bolt, and washer, every spot weld, and it has 35 million degrees of freedom. It's quite amazing. And it's true to say that if we didn't have models like this, we wouldn't be able to make the safest cars in the world. So can we utilize our capabilities and our methods from the automotive side to influence a robot? Well, we can make a model, and since we had crash software, we're using the same software here, we can make it fall down. And the purpose of this is to make sure that if it falls down, ideally it doesn't, but it's superficial damage. We don't want it to, for example, break its gearbox and its arms. That's equivalent of a dislocated shoulder of a robot. Difficult and expensive to fix. So we want it to dust itself off, get on with the job it's been given. We can also take the same model and we can drive the actuators using the inputs from a previously solved model, bringing it to life. So this is producing the motions for the tasks we want the robot to do. These tasks are picking up boxes, turning, squatting, walking upstairs. Whatever the set of tasks are, we can play to the model. This is showing just simple walking. We can create the stresses in all the components. That helps us to optimize the components. These are not dancing robots. These are actually the modal behavior, the first 5 modes of the robot. And typically, when people make robots, they make sure the first mode is up around the top single figures, up towards 10 hertz. The reason to do this is to make the controls of walking easier. It's very difficult to walk if you can't guarantee where your foot is wobbling around. That's okay if you make one robot. We want to make thousands, maybe millions. We haven't got the luxury of making them from carbon fiber and titanium. We want to make them from plastic. Things are not quite so stiff. So we can't have these high targets. I call them dumb targets. We've got to make them work at lower targets. So is that going to work? Well, if you think about it, sorry about this, but we're just bags of soggy jelly and bones thrown in. We're not high frequency. If I stand on my leg, I don't vibrate at 10 hertz. People operate at low frequency, so we know the robot actually can. It just makes controls harder. So we take the information from this, the modal data and the stiffness, and feed that into the control system. That allows it to walk. Just changing tack slightly, looking at the knee. We can take some inspiration from biology, and we can look to see what the mechanical advantages of the knee is. It turns out it actually represents quite similar to 4-bar link, and that's quite non-linear. That's not surprising, really, because if you think when you bend your leg down, the torque on your knee is much more when it's bent than it is when it's straight. So you'd expect a non-linear function. And in fact, the biology is non-linear. This matches it quite accurately. So that's a representation. The 4-bar link is obviously not physically a 4-bar link. As I said, the characteristics are similar. But me bending down, that's not very scientific. Let's be a bit more scientific. We've played all the tasks through this graph, and this is showing picking things up, walking, squatting, the tasks I said we did on the stress. And that's the torque seen at the knee against the knee bend on the horizontal axis. This is showing the requirement for the knee to do all these tasks. I've then put a curve through it, surfing over the top of the peaks, and that's saying this is what's required to make the robot do these tasks. So if we look at the 4-bar link, that's actually the green curve. And it's saying that the non-linearity of the 4-bar link has actually linearized the characteristic of the force. What that really says is that's lowered the force. That's what makes the actuator have the lowest possible force, which is the most efficient. We want to burn energy up slowly. What's the blue curve? Well, the blue curve is actually if we didn't have a 4-bar link, we just had an arm sticking out of my leg here with an actuator on it, a simple 2-bar link. That's the best we could do with a simple 2-bar link. And it shows that that would create much more force in the actuator, which would not be efficient. So what does that look like in practice? Well, as you'll see, it's very tightly packaged in the knee. You'll see it go transparent in a second.